Good afternoon and welcome to this GotSafety presentation. Today we are talking about workplace safety during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Rick Roman
Michael Crowley.
and Michael Crawley. Um, you'll notice that there's a chat box on the right side of your computer screen probably, where if you have any questions, you can type them in there. And when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll be answering your questions. So anyway, as we get started here, I remember back in 2001, I was working in the freight transportation industry, Michael.
Yeah.
And on September 11th, I was actually working that morning. And as the events were unfolding, we were watching the news and actually saw the second plane crash into the Twin Towers. And one of the guys that I was working with had made a comment that this country was never going to be the same. And I didn't really think a lot of it at the time, but as I look back, what a prophetic statement that was. That if any of you have done any airline traveling or been to a ball game or a concert, and things have just really changed drastically. Even recently, they're doing the real ID, and as this thing winds down and we're all able to get back to work and achieve some point of normalcy, things just are never quite going to be, it's just not going to be the same.
No, Rick, I totally agree with you. There's going to be changes that are going to be made. It's just no way that there's not, I mean, just right down to, we all know that one guy that used to go to the bathroom and not wash his hands, that now it's going to be like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Not that we weren't like that before, let me be honest with you. But I totally agree with you, Rick. Our lives can change a bit for the best, and they can also change in a way that we can be better on the other side. So when we say our lives are never going to be the same, sometimes that has a role of depression that comes with it, that we think, oh my gosh, it's all over. But let me tell you, I think that this is going to be different, yes, but it can be things that we can change in our lives, in our habits, that can be a positive thing too, don't you think, Rick?
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get started here as we look through here. There's really going to be two components to battling this COVID-19, right?
Yep.
There's the one side is keeping your employees safe and healthy at work, and then the other side is the compliance, right? And when we talk about compliance, we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of people calling and asking about some sort of COVID-19 response plans. We've received letters that they've sent us from some of the people that they're suppliers for or subcontractors for, mandating that they have a program in order to be able to continue working with them. People are asking if OSHA is requiring you to have this program. Michael, talk a little bit about an infectious disease and response plan, if you will.
So OSHA has not come out with an exact requirement for the infectious disease and response plan, but our contacts over there are all telling us that this is something we should put into place. So at this point, it's not 100% a citational issue that we can get hit for. But I'm telling you, just like Rick said, we have got to have something in place. So if you're a client of ours, we have built one, and we have put it into everybody's programs. And that's the great news that we've done. And then as we do this, what they're looking for, OSHA's telling us, is we need to be following the CDC guidelines and really putting those in place and taking care of it. With regards to that, you got to be following your local areas. We know that some of the areas locally in different areas, cities and counties, they could be wearing a mask outside all the time, right, Rick? There could be other things that they need to be doing. So we need to be concerned with that. But the most important thing is, at some point, we have got to get back to work. And you may be already an essential business listed, and thank God for that, right? That you're able to continue to work. And in that note, we've got to be able to follow these guidelines and really get it done. So we've been busy on our side making sure that we are just not sitting idly, but we've got the infectious disease program, and that program that we've created is subject to change depending on the guidelines and that have come out. Some of our lessons are titled COVID Safety Lesson April 10th, right? Because a week later, we may have to write it all over again, depending on the changes. So just know that the infectious disease program that we've put in place for you guys, that all our clients understand, that has a tendency to change. I'm sure you're agreeing with that, Rick.
Exactly. And the key thing is while, like you said, while there's not technically a code right now that's citable, it is something that eventually is going to be coming down the pike. And my gosh, it makes great
Mhm.
sense. How
It
would we
does.
not have something in place to make sure we're keeping our folks
Yeah.
safe and doing everything that we can to do that? And then again, uh, really watching your county codes and stuff like that. And then also, as far as postings, there was a Families First Coronavirus Response Act that
Yep.
needs to be posted from April 1st till the end of this year. It's an employee rights to know about sick leave and things like that as a response to this. And so you really got to make sure that you have that posting that you've got up. And if you need help with getting that, we can get a copy to you, but you need to get that and post that as
And and
well.
and Rick, this is a federal poster. Everybody. This is a federal
Yes.
poster. So if you're in California or you're one of our great clients across the country, this is a federal poster that they're wanting you to put up in your workplace. So you should have a copy of this already. If you don't, we can send it to you. This is something we're not charging for, of course. We're just wanting to make sure you have the right information and that you're following everything you need to.
Exactly. So let's get into the actual infectious disease plan. So as Mike mentioned, we've created one of these. If you're a client of ours that already has GotSafety created documentation, in fact, if you're on this webinar, it should already be uploaded. If you were late to register, you may not see it in your client center just yet. If so, give us a call or send us
Yeah.
an email, and we'll make sure that we get yours uploaded right away. But the rest of you should, for the most part, should have this. Otherwise, it's a program that we're including with, going forward when anybody gets documentation from us, this will be included in there. Now, if you've already gotten your own or you're putting it together yourself, hey, here's some of the things that you want to make sure at the very least that your plan is taken care of, right? So first you need to identify an administrator. That's the person who's ultimately in charge, and obviously you might delegate things, but you need to identify an administrator. You also need to explain what the COVID-19 is and how it spreads. You need to identify the recommendations and guidelines that you'll be following and monitoring, like Mike talked about, following those local government sites and just to know what's going on in your local area. You have to have a system for conducting risk assessments of your workplace. You got to communicate the sick leave policies, which were on that poster. You got to communicate those to your employees. You also have to have systems in place to protect your employees from contracting the diseases, things like personal hygiene, not sharing of tools and personal items, social distancing, and just general housekeeping. You have to have a system for handling employees who might be experiencing symptoms. Of course, you got to delegate responsibilities to your supervisors and managers so that they can monitor these things. And then you have to have a system in place to notify your employees and your partners, people that might be coming into your establishment,
Yeah.
of steps that you're taking to minimize the exposure and basically notifying people of any positive testing and stuff. And all, of course, that has to be done in accordance to local and state laws and what have you. But these are all things that if you've got a plan that you're putting together, you want to make sure that you have these things. Now, Michael, the most important part of any safety program to keep it from being a book on a shelf is
Nobody likes books on a shelf, Rick. Nobody likes them.
you got to do the training, right?
You got to do the
So
training. And so the things that Rick's just went over on this note, you just know that this is what the CDC is asking for. This is what the CDC is recommending. So as you try to implement these things, our staff is completely here to help you answer specific questions, because I know the guidelines that Rick just went over aren't like, all right, I can implement all those very easily. So there's going to have to be some specific things that you put in place with regarding to that. And one of these things that's kind of tricky is what you're really looking at here. The next slide is obviously the training section, right, Rick? And the training section is a tough one to do. Sometimes companies at this time when things are happening and it's stuff, the 9/11 conversation, and even now with this COVID, the problem is people go, all right, let's just not do training. Let's just stop training and let's go right into production. And this is, I understand the business owner's mentality. Heck, I am one to make sure we do this. But the problem is if you forego the training, we have the great potential to have a worse outcome to shut down the production down the road that could happen. So the first thing we want to say is the social distancing thing. The social distancing thing is something that there is the 6 feet. Now, some of you may have already liked this. You don't like getting close to people. And then you got your Seinfeld close talkers, right? The guys that really want to talk close and get close. We need to be able to keep that distancing. And in different work areas, this could be tricky. Some of the things that we're doing on our side to make sure when we come out and do your training is we do outside safety lessons for some of our clients. They've got a nice open parking lot. We can get them out there. You know, it's springtime, right, everybody? Let's get out there and have a great time. So the training does take place like that. If you're in a facility that doesn't really have an outside venue, a parking lot that they can go into, then we can do it in the work area. A lot of times we were using training rooms. God bless the training room, but the training room can be kind of smaller. So we're doing it in the shop, right? In the warehouse, out there where we're just keeping people sporadic. Trust me, our people have brilliant, loud voices that they can get out to everybody. But in the training network, you cannot forget to do it, and you just kind of keep your little bit of distance. This isn't rocket science. This isn't the end of the world. We can get it done, but you do want to make sure you're pushing that training and you are keeping this on so your people keep their focus and keep it locked and loaded.
Yep, and it's not just related to what we're experiencing now, just your
No,
regular training,
right.
right? OSHA is still working. We're still seeing evidence that they're going out and doing visits, and I would
Yeah.
imagine the state probably is in need of money at this time.
Yep,
And
yep, they are. And you know, Rick, we do track on a daily basis all the OSHA citations in the state of California. And I can tell you, God bless the people of OSHA. We love them to death. They're still citing people. And so the reality of it is we've got not just because they're citing, because we want to make sure our employees are safe. Let me just say that that really is the first and foremost. But we don't like the citations, do we, Rick? We really want to make sure we're compliant with this.
yes, exactly. So then when it comes to specifically, training for the COVID-19 here, right? And the things that are going on, you need to make sure, like I said, that you're training on sick policies, what the disease is, how it
Mhm.
spreads,
Yeah,
your reporting procedures, who your employees need to go to if they're experiencing symptoms, how you can minimize the chance of catching the COVID-19. Obviously,
yeah,
acceptable practices for social distancing while at work, which could be a challenge depending on what you do for work.
could be.
You've got to have some workarounds, and then personal responsibilities, Michael. Personal responsibilities for people in their own health and making sure that they're coming to work and that
Yeah.
they're in good health, getting rest and doing all of that. And then how to prevent the spread of the pandemics and other diseases in the workplace. So you really got to make sure that you're doing training on this as well as doing your normal training, because like we mentioned, OSHA is still going out and visiting businesses, and you don't want to be one of the ones that is at this time, with all of the loss in business that people are experiencing. Getting OSHA fines is not something that's going to help the matter at all.
You're right, Rick. And we hear so much about this disease on the internet and on the TV, and depending on what you're watching, it has a tendency to make it seem like everything is coming to an end and it's all right. And so it's hard to know a lot of times how this is coming down. But when it comes to this training and you're in your workplace, you've got to make sure you're washing your hands more than just bathroom time, right? You're washing your hands if you're sneezing, if you're coughing, using the hand sanitizer if you can find it. And the idea of it is we're going to be okay. This is something that I can tell us. If we can get back to work when the time is right, we are going to be okay. And I can't eject that enough. That this isn't a doomsday thing. We are going to be okay if we can just start washing our hands more, keep our distance from each other. If facial masks are something that we can utilize, then let's utilize them. If it's not, let's just be safe and cautious, and we can get on with our lives. When we are opening the gates and the business starts to pour, I'm telling you, I know a lot of us out there are hurting business wise. And the reality of it is we've got to have positive hope and push forward with faith. Am I right, Rick?
That's it. That's for sure. So talk a little bit, Michael, if you will, about
Yeah.
so here's a list of lessons that we've created. Talk
Wow.
about our return to work series and the different types of lessons that we're creating so that we can make sure that everyone has what they need to keep their employees safe.
As you guys know, one of the things that we do is we make custom written lessons for what you guys are doing. So if you have a unique or weird circumstance happening in your shop, we can write those custom lessons for you at no charge above what you pay just on your little monthly fee. So this is part of the greatness. So over the last few weeks, we've been incredibly busy. Let me just tell you, trying to figure out things. The first thing on the list is the COVID lesson, and that's updated April 10th. And so we're keeping that updated. That's going to change. That's going to mutate. And so you can see, and I don't have a desire to read them all, but pandemic safety lesson, cleaning and disinfecting, social distancing. We've got a lot of these lessons in place. I've got some more to come that the writers and our research are putting together. And with this, we have what it takes to make sure you have it. So you shouldn't feel at any time, man, I just don't know what to train on. What do I train when I come out of this? What do the employees need? We got to look at the environment. I have a customer service team that can go over with you one by one so that you can call in and say, hey, this is what's going on. Our scheduling team that schedules for the on-site safety training when we come out there. Our people are out there. They have sanitizer that they clean themselves up all the time. They're wearing their masks. They're keeping themselves safe. We're doing checks on a daily basis with our own people to make sure there's no symptoms of anything. So we're doing safe on our side so that we come to your facility, we're clean as a whistle. And in that regard, these are the kind of lessons that in the next couple months we should be putting into place so that when people come to work, they know pandemic, return to work right after. What are we looking for? Life can be good again, but we got to think a little bit differently and everything. I mean, I'm a guy with a beard. Rick refuses, and I want to make this clear, refuses to grow a beard, and it's bothered me. So if we could get some comments about him needing to grow a beard, I'd appreciate it. But back to that, you're touching your face a lot, and we just don't do that. I mean, it's been hard. Even in this webinar, I think I almost went to wipe my nose with my hand, not because it was running, just because it's a tick. So we've just got to change some of our natural behaviors. That is going to be tricky, Rick, but positive, right, Rick? We can do this.
We can, and you'll notice even in some of the lessons that we have here, and we really are in the early stages of this because we're getting requests in from our clients, and some of them may seem redundant in a sense because it might be keeping things clean, but in a different environment. And because of your unique circumstances, you want the lesson to be written exactly to what it is that you do, and just those couple of minor tweaks make it really specific to what you do. So really, if there's anything you've got going on where you think that something could add value for you, we love to create these lessons for you. You'll notice all of you who have the full access GotSafety, some of these are obviously, it takes a little longer to produce the videos, and my gosh, this has only been going on now for a month and a half or so, where there's really been a lot of activity. So a lot of the lessons don't have videos yet, but we're creating a whole library of videos for these so that it'll really help with your employees maybe on the later shifts where somebody isn't really there to do the training to be able to watch those videos, and then of course to be able to track all of that training.
I can't disagree with you. You'll see one of the last lessons we have on our list there is the return to work after the pandemic break room etiquette. I'm telling you, you're going to want to teach these kinds of lessons. It may be common sense to some, but I am telling you, do not take it for granted. These are the things. In fact, that's one of the lessons I would post. I would post in the break room. Let me just make sure. Rick, can I ask a request right here, Rick, as we're waiting?
Sure.
Rick, we need to create a poster on break room etiquette that we need to post. Can you write that down? We need to put that out there and send that poster to everybody on this webinar. That just seems like something we need to have so that we can put this in place so that it can be some bold pictures. Nothing too bold, Rick. We don't need anything to say.
But no, this is, I mean, it's like you say, it's a lot of stuff that seems like common sense, obviously, sneezing or coughing into your elbow and things like that. But boy, we all know that common sense isn't always so common. So to have those reminders in the places where your folks are actually, congregating is a great reminder for them.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And so as you think about this and you're thinking about this and putting this program into place, getting the safety lessons unlocked and loaded, you shouldn't be worried about the things that are happening. You should really be putting in place all the things that you really need to have so that you're good to go. I mean, this will be easy to put into play. Easy, easy.
Exactly. So that's for the most part you know, the things that we wanted to talk about is just to be able to let you
My,
know what we're doing here for you to make sure that you have the resources that you need. We've created any of you that need that the infectious disease program. Like I said, if you're a client of ours that has
yeah,
gotten documentation from us already, you now have it.
that's right.
We have all the lessons for you that you could possibly need as your folks start coming back to work. You're going to need more lessons, and we're here to create that for you. And we really just wanted to stress the importance of, even though your tendency is wanting to not gather your people together, we can still gather them together in a way that's safe, but yet be able to deliver that training that your folks need. Because whether it's on the pandemic itself or just their regular job duties, it's very and vitally important that we're providing training for your employees.
And the message we want to leave with you is have no fear. GotSafety is here. I mean, the reality of it is by doing the training that you were doing before, but doing it in a social distancing way, either outside groups that are in a bigger environment, not jogging us all into a small break room or a training room, but giving us a big environment that we can do outside. With the lessons that we put in place, we are confident that our scheduling team and our customer service team, if you're taking on-site service or if you're just on the mobile app doing training with the safety videos online, we have what we need to get that in play. So just start thinking a little bit differently. We've given you the list of the pandemic lesson, the pandemic program. We put it into your system, and we're here for you to implement this, and we're fully staffed, ready to go.
Yep. So we didn't want to take up a whole lot of your time today. We know we all have work to get done, and we just thought that this would be an important message to get out to you, just to make sure that you're aware that where you can get the resources that you
Yeah.
need, and what you need to do to stay safe and compliant. And if you've got any questions, type them into the chat. John, has anybody sent in any questions as of
Yeah,
yet?
we've got some really great questions actually.
Hmm.
So the first one, we got a few on, are these slides going to be available to anyone, the slides that you just showed? Can you make those available?
If you send an email to rick@gotsafety.com, I will send you a copy of the slides.
Perfect. Next question, they ask, we are training people, but how are we documenting it? How do we have everyone sign into the training? Pass around a clipboard and pen? I know the obvious answer to that, but I'll let you guys take it.
That's a beautiful answer. Well, we have our mobile app that all customers have access to, and they can access this thing to their personal phones and they can sign in. So if you call into the system in our customer service team, if you don't have our mobile app, what you can do is they can upload your employee list to help you upload those. And then in that you'll be able to sign off with that. So you don't have to pass around the pen and the clipboard. You can start digitizing. You should have done that before, but now is just a great reason to do it. So you can start searching and see who's had lessons and who's not. You know what I mean? Especially for those people that are doing working from home, right, Rick? They can take the lessons they need because they're still in the workforce, and thus they do need to comply with the OSHA, Cal OSHA, or whatever state you're in regulations.
Cool. One other person asks, is there a limit to the amount of workers allowed on construction sites, or just that they stay 6 feet away from one another?
There is not a limit of how many guys can be on a job site at this time, but you should do your best in all possible to keep the socially distancing as possible. It's tough at times, and there is no big rule that if you get within 4 feet, you're going to get hammered with a citation. It's a guideline that is strong, but we need to do our best. But no, there's no rule on a job site how many guys you can.
Perfect. Another person asked, is the program you provide, I'm assuming they're asking about documentation, but is that also available in Spanish?
We have not put it into Spanish as of yet, the program itself. Usually the program itself is for the administrators and the people to read it if they'd like, but all the lessons we have are in Spanish. So when we talk about implementing a program, how do you implement if it's not in Spanish? It's all the lessons. That's why we put the lessons into Spanish and do it. The translation is incredibly expensive, especially to get it into a nice translation that is not, depending on dialects and whatnot. So the lessons are all in Spanish and we can help them out with that. And our people are Spanish speaking, they can convey all that too.
Yep, and that you just answered the last question, which was, do any of these trainings have Spanish available? So there you go.
We do, and the
Yep.
videos that we've done all have the Spanish videos too, so that you can do that, and that may be a good thing. So if there is a safety lesson that you go on to that we don't have a video for you yet, just call in and ask us, and we'll put that at the head of the line so that you can have those in place.
And then the last request was to grow a dang beard, Rick.
Oh yes, Rick, come on, Rick, you got to do it. You got to do it, Rick. Yo, cool would look.
Well, I don't know. I've just always made a decision that I would never grow a beard, and so I don't think it's going to be a hard rule for me to break.
Rick, we can bribe you. What if everybody on this webinar puts in $5 for you to grow a beard? I think we can do it, Rick. Any takers out there?
Yeah,
So
that's all.
John, any other questions coming in?
Nope, that's it. We got.
That's it. All
Yep.
right. Well, hey, we want to thank all of you guys. Michael, thanks to everybody for coming in. Michael, go ahead and give us our last words.
Well, I've touched my face 3 times in this, even though I said I didn't try to. And let me tell you, I don't know what it is. We're all, listen, you do your best. I'm going to go wash my hands after this. I just want to say this. Thank you guys for being clients. Thanks for attending today. We're really trying to get it all. If there's a safety lesson that you see here that you're not a client of, give us a call. We'd love to help you out and show you a little bit of what we do and see if we can help. Our goal is to make sure all the work environments are safe and to be able to spread this message. Life is greener on the other side of this, I promise you. This is not the last of all of our businesses. We have worked for years and years to grow our companies to where they are. And I know this is some tough times. Many tears have been shed on everybody's times over the last few weeks. On my side, my families, and our employees here. And let me just tell you, we are not out of the fight yet. And all of us need to have hope and faith. And let me tell you, we just love you guys to death and would like to see you out there in the field doing training and stuff. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.